Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome from the comfort of my own car at the moment, driving around. Just like to introduce you today to a concept at MPA Property Group we refer to as an equity gap. An equity gap, essentially, as I'll explain it, is the ability to pick up intrinsic growth in your property investment portfolio building. As regular viewers or regular clients of MPA will be aware, one of our key mandates is to pick properties in the optimum time in their respective cycles. So if we think about that for a second, we draw some conclusions. We draw conclusions that if you're buying a property in an area which is at the optimum time in its property cycle, then we've got a distinct advantage because we're going to get the most amount of growth happening in the short term. As regular MPA viewers will be aware, if a property cycle consists of a 10-year period, history has taught us that 3 out of every 10 years is really responsible for 60 to 70% of the growth. So in effect, 3 out of every 10 years is exciting, 7 is quite boring. Now, here's the point. That's real growth when your property goes up in value. At MPA, we not only look at how to generate real growth, but look at the intrinsic growth that goes with it. Now, intrinsic growth can happen in 3 ways, generally speaking. People can renovate properties, people can potentially subdivide, add value as a result, or we can pick up what we refer to internally at MPA as an equity gap. Now, an equity gap is the ability to see a legitimate apple against apple difference between an established property market and a house and land construction price. So if we think about that and we take an example of a typical house in a new area, as per just outside my window here, we can see an example of a house in suburbia. If we look at that property and we look at what is its current market value, then we have a starting point for an equity gap. Now what we do is we look at as close to possible apples against apples to look at what is the actual price to construct. Same square meterage land, the same type of dwelling, and depending on the merits of a given area at that particular point in time, is there a distinct difference between the two? Now, as a company, one of our mandates is to look all around Australia for legitimate equity gaps in a market. The fundamental difference between established properties and house and land that really essentially are the same product once they're built. To be accurate as of today, we're looking at the 14th of December 2011, there's probably about 5 areas in the whole of Australia at the moment where we see really high equity gaps occurring. They can change quite quickly, but for example, Western Australia, certain areas in Western Australia, we can see legitimate equity gaps to the tune of $70,000 or $80,000, which, when you think about it, if you think there's a $70,000 to $80,000 difference between the two, before you even get started with the real growth in the real cycle movements, it gives you a massive advantage. A lot easier than going out and renovating or subdividing properties. Now, are they easy to find? Unfortunately not. Throughout our 23 offices in Australia, probably only got about 5 legitimate equity gaps that we see, but we're always looking for them. Some of our clients that are new to our company really have asked that question, which is really maybe want to get on camera now and explain what it is, because it really can give you that extra dimension to your portfolio building. As I stated before, really key, massively important, is to pick the right type of market in terms of its cycle. No point getting into a market in the wrong time of its cycle. That gives real growth, but it can be argued that every single property within the parameters of that area is still going to go up when the market rises in value. So that's great, but how do we double the advantage? And an equity gap is one legitimate way of doubling your advantage, adding intrinsic growth to real growth to really enhance your property portfolio, create more equity. Obviously, as we're all aware, the more equity we gain, the more leverage we have to do other things, and the more our net worth goes up. So this is Craig Whaley signing off from MPA Property Group. For further information on where our equity gaps are in Australia at the moment, please contact us on 1300 429 040, or go to our website www.npapropertygroup.com.au. That's www.npapropertygroup.com.au, and I look forward to hearing from you into the future. Thank you very much.